Get up. Easy, Bandit. Easy. Gosh dang it. Get. Hup, hup, hup. No. Get up. Come on. Hop. Ha, 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 ha. Ha. Get up. Go. Get up. Get him, Bandit. Get him, Bandit. Get him. Go, 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 go. Get him. Good boy, Bandit. I've tried to spend about every second I could this week working on anything to do with the new solar system that I'm mounting on the roof, but the goats need more feed. After getting the wire rolled out and laid up against the T-posts, I quickly wanted to secure the fence well enough that the goats could not get through it, so I could put them on this other side and let them chew this down. The goats have gotten to where they prefer the natural feed that's available up here over the alfalfa flakes that I will occasionally throw to them. But because hay is so expensive right now, anything I can do to postpone the goats eating our existing hay is a good thing. As I work up here stretching the fence, I find myself looking a little further up the hill into the natural woods that haven't been touched, and I can't wait until next summer where I can start over again, carefully thinning the property so the trees do as good as they can do, and getting the grass growing on another section of our property. It may take me the rest of my life, but this is what I hope to do with all of our property. So far, I'm about 500 feet back on the over 4,000 feet of land that we own. I've got plenty of work to do for a long time coming. I've got the fence hung, but I'm actually thinking about going around the water tank right here, so I don't have the goats around the water tanks. So I guess for now I'm just gonna leave it like it is and go stretch the far side. But one more thing that I'm thinking about doing this year, if I can get enough stuff done, is building a better insulated shelter for the water tanks. It looks like I'm just gonna be stuck with these above ground tanks. So if that's the case, I need to get this one out of the sun. I need to build a better version of what's here. I'm thinking real seriously about taking some of the railroad ties that I have and at least coming up high enough to where I could backfill around it and have a fairly well insulated shed, or whatever you want to call it, for the water tanks. But before I do that, I'm thinking about adding one more tank to this mix. Initially I wanted to put underground tanks in, and like everything else right now, there's a problem getting these tanks. I think there's a waiting list to get them, and they're super expensive. There's nothing wrong with these above ground tanks, but it's not good for them to have them out in direct sunlight. That's probably the one thing that's going to wear them out faster than anything. So as usual, I got too much to do and not enough time to do it, but I'm probably going to run the fence around the water tanks so I can so the goats just aren't up here messing with stuff. They're notorious for messing with stuff. So I'm gonna go stretch the other side. Ruby! Let's go, Ruby. Let me wire up this piece of unistrut, and then you're gonna sit in the Ranger and run the winch while I walk up and down the fence and kind of get it sitting right. And then once I have it sitting right, then I can come down and unhook you. Let me get this piece of unistrut in place first. Oh, wait. Okay, so I'm gonna walk up the hill. See how it's stuck on the post? I have to pop it off, and I'm gonna holler at you to tighten it up. Once I start popping those off, you probably don't even need to run the winch. Just let the Ranger let off on the brake a little bit. And let the weight tighten it up, but let me kind of... As Cedar was helping me get the fence stretched, we noticed a car pulled up in our driveway and realized it was some friends. And by the time they left, it was time for Cedar to go pick up the kids. So I get to finish the fence myself, which is okay. You're gonna hand me the clips, and we'll work our way down.
Where's the clips in your sleeve?
I'm gonna have to leave an opening in that fence over there so they can get to water. And my hope is,
over there?
Yeah,
Because
there's no, I didn't put any yard hydrants on this side yet. So my hope is that they kind of wander back and forth between these two sides. The difference between our property, which has been thinned, and the neighboring pieces of property which have not ever been touched is dramatic. We obviously have way more grass and weeds trying to grow up because the grass and weeds are getting proper sunlight. I mentioned it before, but this is the one place on our property where I have not put any grass seed. This is the natural grasses and weeds trying to come up. Compared to the other side where the goats have been for the last month and a half, the goats have basically chewed down all of the invasive weeds, and the new grasses are trying to come up. By getting the goats off of that property and putting them over here, my hope is that over the next couple of months, before it gets too cold, that some of these grasses have a chance to get established. So come springtime, we have an abundance of feed. I've talked about it before, but I had goats as a kid. And on our little quarter-acre lot in town, they ended up being a mess. They killed my dad's favorite plum tree, and we really didn't have enough land to have goats at that time. But it seems like over the last 20 plus years, Cedar and I have always had a goat or two. We recently borrowed a young billy goat from a couple of our good friends, Mark and Ola, and over the next 6 weeks, that billy goat will breed the 9 goats that we have. Come early spring, we could have another 9 goats, another 18 goats, or who knows how many. Most of our goats are dairy mix, but the last 2 years we've used a Kiko billy goat to breed back to, and Kikos are much larger than the traditional dairy goat. We may end up getting a couple of purebred Kikos to work into the mix. The Kiko goat seems to be even more durable than the goats that we have. They don't require hoof trimming, and they produce a lot more meat than the average dairy goat. If we're going to be goat ranchers, we'll have to get this figured out. Come on, let's go. Come on, Ruby. Come on, Ruby. Come on, Ruby. Probably not my best work, but there's so much feed on this other side. They should stay over here. Their water's over there, their shelter's over there. If they wanted to, they could go up the road to the cabin, and more than likely they'd stay pretty close by. But I just don't think they're gonna do it. I didn't put the goat fencing across the fence up there, going up to the cabin, because I just don't see them going up there that far. And again, there's so much food down here, they're not likely to go any further than they have to fill their bellies. So what's going to be interesting is to watch how fast they knock this down, and then to watch this side and to see if it's going to come back at all this year. Tomorrow morning I'm going to dive headfirst into the solar panels.
What are you doing? What is that, chimney?
It's called
Chimchurri?
It's called a spark arrestor.
Spark arrestor, huh?
Yeah, and I'm tired of getting on the roof and cleaning it in the middle of winter, so this is my EPA OSHA approved fix. We're just gonna cut.
I'm not exactly sure that's correct.
Cut a few of those out of there. We're not too concerned about sparks.
Or OSHA in the winter.
Or OSHA in the winter. Or OSHA ever, for that matter.
Who's OSHA?
Exactly. That's going to be my next t-shirt we make. Who's OSHA anyway? Truthfully, if you drive around town, most people take these screens completely out.
Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim.
You don't even know what movie that's from, Cheyenne.
Red Poppins. Mary Poppins.
You're close. Kids lack culture when it comes to legitimate movies.
Grandma used to make me watch it, and I never liked it.
Again, you
I
have
loved
no
that
culture
movie.
when it comes to old movies.
Have you ever seen Mary Poppins?
Me?
Yeah.
Probably 67 times,
Do you
and The
memorize?
Sound of Music, and
I've seen The Sound of Music. You used to make us watch that one too.
what's the one where he
Go.
Is
on
that-
the rooftop? What's the Fiddler on the Roof? And Fiddler on the Roof.
Is that what caused you to go to the local supermarket and buy a Mountain Dew as soon as you were done?
Oh, sure, I'm
Because
sure.
your brain was.
My brain was fried.
to calm
Nobody was
down.
moving around fast enough for me. Nobody was building and fixing things. That was a good movie. So was Sound of Music.
Dick Van Dyke.
That's a legit movie. They could never make that movie these days.
Go, a deer, a
That movie-
female deer,
A movie that I think was rated G.
prey, a pack of golden sun.
A movie that was rated G when it
That's
came
the
out
worst.
in 1970 whatever is probably too politically incorrect to be on it hurt too many people's feelings today. So we better make sure we have a copy of that one before they delete it, before they Cheyenne, you know that in The Sound of Music the girl runs away to be with her boyfriend?
Yeah.
Maybe you should consider that.
You're condoning her running away with her boyfriend?
Well, I know where her boyfriend lives. And no, I'm not. We know Cheyenne will be right back the first time she has some dirty clothes. Like your just like your big sister, you'll show up whenever you need to do laundry. And I'll still be sitting out here clipping these things off the spark arrestor.
You're going to be redoing it in a couple
Not funny,
months.
Cedar.
Chim,
Not
chim,
funny.
chim.
Where we live up here, security for our family is really important.
As a husband and a father, this is something I think about on a regular basis. If our house caught on fire right now and I had to call for a fire truck, the road's in good condition, good enough condition. In a best case scenario, it's probably 30 minutes before they get up here. In the wintertime with snow, with mud, whatever, they've already made it clear to us that the odds are that they're not going to be able to get up here. I'm not even sure if the fire truck could get up our driveway in the middle of winter. For this reason, we have talked as a family, both Cedar and I have talked and the kids have talked about one thing, and that's getting out of the house. So it's important that we get notified if something does get sideways. A number of years ago, we had some kind of friends of friends that lived about an hour and a half away from us, and there was some sort of a malfunction in their furnace. And this happens every year, unfortunately. And I would hear about this as a plumbing contractor from time to time. Their furnace malfunctioned and pumped their house full of carbon monoxide. That mother and father, and I think there was 2 kids, never woke up. That's terrifying to me. For that reason, this system that we kind of put together, we handpicked what we wanted in the system, and as opposed to the base model system, which I think is what we had initially. We have 2 carbon monoxide detectors. We have smoke detectors. We have the freeze warnings. We have the outside camera now. That's a new feature. We have the smart lock where our kids can, even if we're not here, they can get inside the house. And above and beyond that, we have the monitoring that comes with the Simply Safe system. By the way, Simply Safe is not paying us a penny to talk about this.
This is just how we feel about being safe.
Yeah, it's 2.5 years ago, before we started working with Simply Safe through ad spots, I was already trying to figure out what the best way to have cameras around my home was, what the best way to have as much security as I felt like I needed. And I'm not paranoid about this, but the bottom line is we live out in the middle of nowhere, so I need to be a little bit aware of what's going on around us. On top of that, when was it when we had that moose run across the back of the property?
Let's go.
A moose, that's one of the few animals up here that I don't want to have an encounter with. And if I had a camera looking up the hill, I would have seen that before the dogs saw it. And ultimately, that's what notified us, was the dogs. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the old system out first, then we're going to reinstall this new system. And from that point on, this is a system that we could add little things to, like a glass breaking sensor if we felt like we needed it in another place. We're not limited in that way. And truthfully, I don't know that there's that big of a difference between the old system and the new system, although I did notice that the new base station is smaller. Mm-hmm. But now we're going to do this and do it right. So I'm going to take the old system out first.
Glass break sensor added.
Hello? This temperature sensor is interesting to me, and I'm going to put this in the utility room by the batteries for the solar system because it can get a little bit warm in there, so I leave the window open. But because I leave the window open, it can also get a little bit cool in there, and those batteries cannot get too cool. So what I'm going to do is put this in that room to monitor those batteries. Panic button. I'm not telling you where I'm putting this one, but do the math. This one's going to go right close to somewhere where I can get to it quick, or where Cedar can get to it quick. Basically to let somebody know, let first responders know that we need some help.
Panic button. Added. Smart loan. Added. Impact. Added. Simply Save on. Home.
This coming Sunday's video, you're going to get to see how I drilled holes through my brand new roof to install the solar racking, and you might just get to see my new truck.